Hey, welcome to another episode of
Discovering Our Journey.
I'm your host, JC.
And I'm MC.
And oh my gosh.
What you got?
It's been a big learning point for me this week.
Yeah.
Big. Yes,
big.
yes. A lot of my pride was shining, beaming all around me. It was radiant. Yes. And it was hard to actually swallow it. You know, it was hard to see it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a big pill to swallow. That's what
It
they say, right?
is.
You start realizing stuff like, ugh.
I'm just grateful for the whole family that I have, friends, and all of that. Because it could be worse. And especially talking to other friends who have gone through similar situations or others who are going through it that are not navigating, thoughtfully. Mm-hmm. I'm just grateful for my situation. But it made me understand where the whole term of you need a community to raise a child.
Okay.
Yeah. So
was a pill swallowed immediately? Was it a reflection? Was it like it just hit you?
No.
Like
It was definitely a reflection.
Yeah,
it was a reflection.
You were sitting there and it just kind of got you like, whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, one of those, huh?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, man.
It was. So Did
you fight it at first a little bit?
I did, of course. So you don't want to see it.
Like, no, wait. You're like, and it's just kind of coming through. It's one of those, huh?
Yes.
Oh, dang it.
Yes. So it wasn't the way I wanted. I talked to you. I talked to a couple friends. And then I started realizing, you know what? There's a lot of things that we do young. And I remember this reflecting about myself when I was young. Mm-hmm. I lied a lot. I did a lot of things, that kids do that you learn, hey, that burns, and so he's going through that now, and he's going through the proper doors, thank God. Right. And
it's a good thing that, like they say, who wants to hang out with their mother sometimes,
Yeah.
So it's like, and it's like, but that's your aunt. No, that's my aunt. It's like, no, but I'm your mother. It's like, but that, hey, it's a good thing that they're still within that family.
Absolutely.
Because it's like, it's different if like, doesn't want to do nothing with the family.
Yep.
So it's just one of those things where, but I'm your mother. It's like, yeah, but you're not cool like my aunt is,
Yeah.
That's just, how you would, someone could take it, but it's just the way, it's just different.
And so, as I was sitting there, really kind of taking everything apart, I had a moment of laughter because I like to write a lot. I like to journal a lot. Mm-hmm. And I had a moment of laughter where I'm just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? There's other people he's reaching out to. He could be way out there in a place I don't even know.
You don't even know who's he hanging with. It's like,
yeah.
I saw you went to some graduation over here with some people who are these people that I don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, he's staying within our community. So it's like, why not? What am I so upset about? This is why I'm telling you that it's so important to have the right kind of people, right? in your life to kind of speak truth into you, because it's when you're in that moment, like I was, right? It was a fog. I was just like, no, but you don't understand, especially in the car. I'm like driving. I'm just like, my feelings.
It wasn't like a mother-son dance or something.
No,
and you're like, you know what I'm saying?
No.
So, but you wouldn't be hurt if it wasn't you, right?
No, but baby steps. Baby steps. But you know what? It's natural is what I'm realizing, is that it's natural.
Yeah.
He's doing it a better way than I did.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And that's what I've got to thank God for.
Yeah. No, and not just that. Maybe, I don't know what your connection was within your family at that time too. Thank God there's a good, got cousins that are here and stuff. Because growing up, how many cousins did you really have that you could hang around with, as many as he has available to him?
Oh, are you kidding? No, I had a lot of cousins.
That were within the area that
Absolutely.
You could hang around with?
Yes.
Did you though?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. A lot of my life is about my family.
Okay.
Yeah. And friends, but mainly family.
Well, I'm just talking about just the family dynamic of how, you feel like you guys are the same then, that you went to a lot of family functions not with your, mother or father, and mostly with aunts, let's just say?
Yeah. I think that's what kept me grounded.
Yeah.
I think that's what kept me grounded. I felt like I had to.
Okay.
Like we had to. Okay. Yeah. So that's interesting. But so that was a big learning point for me this week. And so I'm still taking it, in small strides, but I'm learning, right? I'm learning one victory at a time.
Yeah. Well, that growth of taking in certain situations are just, it is what it is. Sometimes we have to really reflect. And again, it's good that you write. I tell people all the time, if you don't have somebody to be able to talk to and hear yourself, because it's so different, I'm assuming that when you're writing and, kind of saying these things, you're like, hey, what am I writing? Like, man, wait a minute. Like you're reflecting on the fact that you're writing or you're, saying these things. It's so different.
Absolutely. Have you gone through any of these experiences, more or less? Any?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, I'm not a writer. I have so many journals that I think I started like a couple pages and then I go on to, I'm horrible. I wish I was better at that, but I do talk a lot. I pray and stuff and talk, and even to myself, sometimes I'll just be like recapping stuff, and I hear myself and able to be like, it's a lot harder though when you're by yourself, because again, you're like you said, you're kind of, well, this, well, that, you're trying to figure it out at the same time. You're trying to, it's almost like being your own doctor in a sense. It's hard to treat yourself when you have emotions and anger or frustration or sadness or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's hard sometimes.
Yeah.
So we have to, it's almost like, something that we've talked about before. It's like, I think what has to happen with a situation is really look at it and going, what is so bad about the situation? Not really what happened, but the whole thing. Could it be worse situation? We have to ask ourselves questions that are not related to how you feel of what happened. Because that's the problem. When you ask and when you sit there and
100%.
You sit there and look at the fact that he didn't tell you, you're just focusing on that part. But if you look at the big picture, like, man, we're here as a family.
Yeah.
He chose to call my sister or, his cousin or whatever and decided to do this. Like, we have to look at a bigger, broader picture of what's going on and ask ourselves, are we in a good situation or a bad one? Or am I creating something that's more personal between, yes, do I have to work with my relationship with my son? Of course.
I was sitting there going, didn't have to. I mean, I really didn't have to.
Because you felt like you were the Debbie Downer?
I was a Debbie Downer, but it was just, I was having a poop party for myself.
Yeah.
But I was just so focused on can't believe you didn't tell me.
So you were in your own little world.
Oh yeah, I was inside just kind of scheming, but I'm thankful, like I said, that it got over. I got up and over it.
And, talking about, situational stuff like that, like, sometimes Debbie Downers or, other people that are in your life, sometimes whether it be friends or family, that sometimes can be a little bit, outspoken or can be a little bit too much for people. It's a very interesting dynamic sometimes when, you might be invited somewhere and maybe it's even your significant other that, is a little too much sometimes, and it can, cause non-invitationals.
Oh, those are hard. How do you handle that? How would you handle that?
I think the thing about it is that a lot of relationships, especially because I think it's a relationship thing more than a family thing, because, families, I think sometimes could tolerate certain things, but I think it's harder when you're in a relationship.
Or they egg it on.
There could be some, the dynamic sometimes is very interesting. My wife, for example, when we first got together would get together with my cousins and stuff, sometimes what my wife would feel, actually, it was like a reverse thing. She would feel uncomfortable. Everyone else was fine, but she would feel uncomfortable because she's like, why do you guys argue so much? Why do you guys yell and stuff? Family. So she's like, she would feel like, no, but you guys, like, no, it's like faces and stuff. And it's like, it
looks so real.
It's like, oh my God, you guys are so much. It's like, because of the way that we, talk about stuff, it's almost like we're arguing and stuff. So she was the uncomfortable one out of a whole mix of stuff.
Yeah.
But then sometimes there is certain situations where, maybe you're the one that's, going somewhere and there's just that one person that makes everyone feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is where when it's that kind of deal, I think one-on-one, right? Mm. One-on-one is a good thing to talk to that person. Like sometimes it might not be good for your spouse to talk to you because you can get a little bit more offended, but
Yeah.
maybe friends.
Yeah, I mean, I can only share my situation sometimes. You know, I've had a trouble with sometimes I'm a bone eater. I don't know if you guys know what that is,
What's
but
a bone eater?
that's where I eat the chicken all the way to the bone. Chicken all the way to the bone.
Oh, dude, yes.
Oh yeah, so I'm a
Yes.
bone eater, and the thing is that, you know, there's a couple sounds associated with the
Oh my god.
you know, crunch and stuff, and you know everything.
Oh,
So
you actually crunch on the bone.
I used to actually eat the edges of the bone, like if it was a chicken bone, like the
Oh,
cartilage. Yeah.
snap.
So I was one of those. You know.
What?
Okay, I still love him, but you know, I'm just a closet one now. No, it's fine. Just do it in the closet. No. So, you know, I had to
That's a new
learn.
one for me, that's for sure.
I had to learn to, you know, to be able to be like, to find that balance between, you know, what's appropriate, what's not, who to do with, who not. Because, you know, my fight, of course, was, look, I want to be me, damn it. If I want to eat the bone, I want to eat the bone.
Yeah.
You know, if I want to crunch on it, if I want to slurp on it, if I want to suck the marrow out of the dang bone, then that's me. You know what I'm saying? So it caused some issues. It caused some issues and stuff like that. And, you know, and luckily we got a nice group of friends that, you know, they're like, hey, 20 years, you know me, I can do it now. You know, so it's like, so I try to, you know, certain people that I try to do.
So wait, what's the resolution then?
I mean, the resolution is really an understanding that, you know, we do have to have certain types of limits. Like, okay, you know what? Try not to make as much noise as possible.
Or why don't you just take it to go? Put it in a doggy bag and then eat it at home.
Well, sometimes it's not always out at a restaurant. We could be at a house or somewhere, you know, and we're eating and stuff like that.
Take it to go. Put it in a doggy bag.
Hey, don't throw those bones away. Save them for me for later, all right?
But I mean, that's kind of like what we've talked about before, you know.
It's
like,
just I enjoy it at the moment. I don't want to go heat up bones later. It's like, you know, so it's kind of tough. So there's got to be so that's what I'm saying. You know, when you're eating, you know, espinazo, you know, certain bones that are just like, oh man, and the cartilage. I love cartilage. So it's like, you know, when you like when I ate the little ribs.
Hold on, I'll be back. You're all in your car.
So excuse me for a second. So it's like, you know, you have the little pork and green salsa or something like that, little riblets.
Yeah.
I love the riblets, the ones that have the cartilage in them. And I'll crunch on the cartilage and stuff. I love it, you know. Wow. And sometimes the bones are so soft.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm chewing on almost the whole bone and stuff. So it's like, so, you know, like I said, I think I've learned to balance it a little bit. You know, you can ask my wife, but, you know.
And so remember, though, if we're always saying that we need to work on ourselves first, if it is an issue, I mean, what would you say in that kind of situation?
You know, I guess sometimes, you know, the most important thing is not to discuss it at the moment that it happens. You know, hey, you know, we're going to sit down. Hey, you know, we're going to eat this right now. We're at home or somewhere where it's a safe area, right? I can do whatever I want at home, right? But start working, incorporating and say, okay, act like we're somewhere else. Go ahead. See, my wife would be like, look, when we're at home, do whatever you want. Go crazy, up to your elbows, doesn't matter. But in reality, I feel like, you know, I need to practice at home how much is acceptable so she understands instead of just going all crazy and stuff. So she was trying to be cool with me out there, but then when I go out in the real world, I trip and fall because I'm not used to doing it. You know, so I'd be like, you know, I'd be sucking on it and then that one just I didn't know it was
I gotta see this. I didn't know. We gotta go to dinner soon. Oh yeah, I gotta order riblets.
Yes. I was like, oh, did I make that noise? My bad. You know, so I try to, you know, there's certain methods that I try to, you know, not make as much noise and stuff. But, and then there's other stuff, you know, that we talk about that I think is also big that has come up in friends, family, or however, is sometimes people don't speak in the right words. That's a real tough one. You know, someone that might say things that might be inappropriate or, you know, F-bombs or stuff like that. And again, I know that the person might be like, it's my freedom of speech. That's just the way that I talk. That's just the way that I say things, you know.
When you say things like that, that means you got a fixed mindset. You're just like, oh, take it or leave it. It's what I am. No, we're all here to grow. We can't use that excuse. We cannot. Yeah.
I think you said that one time. That's just the way I am or something.
Okay. So again, we're learning, right? We're learning. And so, it's kind of like those... that's where pride. That's
Yeah.
what I'm telling you. Pride comes in, and you're
Yeah.
just like, no, and I'm
Yeah.
the forras, right? It's just like I'm the way I am,
Yeah.
and we can't do that.
So one of the things that, that like we're talking about the speech thing, which is
Yeah.
funny, which when I first got with my wife, when we first got together, we would hang out, and she worked in a corporate world at that time, so she had a way of carrying herself and mannerisms and speaking and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to match that, and it was like, man, it was tough. It was tough having to match some of that type of lingo, that type of how you act and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
She says once we got married, everything went out the window. But it's just. But before that, she would like give me these looks sometimes, because I would then take her with me to like my friend's house, back in those days and stuff, and it's like she looked at me like, you did like a lot of F-bombs, and like, you did a lot of this, and that's not how you talk normally. How do you, what? Because she'd be like,
sometimes there are those friends.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Together,
yeah, exactly.
It's like, oh, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. You start. Well,
where's the censoring?
Yeah. Hold on, just.
That's right. That's right.
And then just the different types of, with my hands.
The hand gestures.
This and that and stuff. So, do all these things. What? So she's like, so I'd be like, oh, really? What was that? She's like, yeah, that's not how you are. I'm like, oh, I don't know what happened.
That's why I love it, because we're energy. We feed off of each other many times.
Yeah. So working with people that, are a certain way sometimes, the thing about it is that we have to do it in a neutral environment and really understand what the person, where you're coming from, because when you bring up a situation where you're somewhere and you're that person that's going to go somewhere, and it's like, and when I get there, I don't want to see you sucking on bones. I don't want to see you, dropping F-bombs. I don't want to see you this. I don't want to see you talk like this. I don't want to see you act like this. I don't want to see, that's not the way we should be. Right? You don't want to be with someone like that and stuff. Now, I'm not saying my wife did that. I'm saying you shouldn't be that way.
Gotcha.
Talking to someone on the way somewhere. Yeah. You shouldn't tell them, hey, I don't want you to do this, and make sure.
Because then all of a sudden you're going to be in a bad vibe.
Exactly.
Like, oh.
Exactly. Oh, there you go again. And it's like, it's like.
That uncomfortableness at the party feeling again.
Yeah.
Where something's wrong, but you got to act like nothing's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's like,
and it ruins the evening. It ruins the evening.
For me, it's like, you already ate, so don't ask for food. All right, no, that's what I hear you do with little kids, right? Little kids,
he
it's
needs
like
a little violin.
Yeah, little kids. So it's what I hear. It's what I hear. My wife would say that sometimes when she was younger, like, you guys already ate, so don't ask for anything. Don't ask for anything to eat, because you already ate. We already fed you and everything. Stopped at McDonald's or whatever when you went, wherever you went, and then you get to the person's house and they're like, hey, do you want to eat? Sure, why not? You're like, but that's how you treat a kid, right? Yes. That's how you treat a kid. You have those rules not to do this or whatever, but you can't do that with adults.
Yeah.
Especially when we're trying to find ourselves, we're trying to be who we are without losing our identity. It's like, that's just the way I talk. That's just the way I eat. That's just the way I say things. That's just the way however it is. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So we're gonna taking a little bit of a curve with that's the way I am. So I've been working a little bit with a couple of individuals who we're talking about right now, the time of crisis and everything that's happening. A lot of people are kind of going fearful, and you know what? It's a natural thing, fear. But at the same time, like, I think we need to focus more on managing, because when we manage ourselves, everything around us kind of, it falls into place, because then you set your boundaries, you set your priorities, and, it's something I'm seeing, and it kind of goes hand in hand with what we're talking about here, because it's all about self. Who's the problem? You. You're always going to be the problem. You can make the problem, or you can make it goes smooth, right?
And I feel the situation is, especially when you're with a partner, because there's no other mirror to see yourself in.
Oof.
You know, you don't know what your friends or family says about you when it's just you.
Yeah.
You know, because when it's just you, they're like, that's just the way he is. But they can say that.
Yeah.
Because they're your friends, your family, they're not in a relationship with you.
Yep.
That's just, you know how he is. You know how he is.
Yeah.
Because they're not in a place to tell you, hey, you need to stop drinking. Hey, you need to stop talking that way. Hey, you need to stop whatever. It's like, you know, that's just how he is or she is. But when you're with a relationship and now you want to be better, you want to have more different, you know, goals, then you have to work on yourself. But you got to work as a team.
But here's the thing though, that what I'm realizing as far as that goes, yes, your partner does matter and everything, but and this is where religion kills me. Okay? As believers, we are always so quick to say miracles happen. A lot of times we don't understand that the miracles start with us. And I'm sorry. But it's something I'm seeing big time right now that I think it's something we have to be, like, we have to come up and speak about it. Like real friends. Okay? I think it's a big cop-out to use miracles because when God put us on this earth, it was to manage. It was to manage. Not lazy. Okay? Miracles do happen, but it's only because it's a help that you need. It's you know, but when you manage your emotions, when you manage your behaviors, when you manage your environment, everything starts to fall in line. Everything. And right now, where everything is in crisis, there are people who are closer to people who know how to change things, right? For instance, if your dad was a millionaire and he gave money to somebody, to like a program to help those that are in need or you know, like let's just say starving artists, you know, and then your friend was a starving artist and you saw potential in him, you are that connecting piece to be like, hey, you know, I know somebody. Like you are supposed to be that manager to make it happen. Right now, with all these crises that are happening, instead of being fearful, I really think it's more of a promotion. If you're managing your stuff right, you're going to be able to shine through the crisis. I think we need to focus on that rather than fear.
And I think the word manage sometimes could be a little bit confusing for somebody. So I think the bigger, a more kind of layman's term is decision. Decide. Because you know what? The way that you talk, the way that you act, the way that you carry yourself, the way that you love, the way that everything that we do, we have to realize is a decision.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a decision. And that's the thing. So by managing that decision is what's important.
Absolutely.
Because really understand yourself, what you decide to do, how you decide to act, how you decide to do that. Don't just feel like that's who you are, that's your identity. It's who you create, who you want to be.
Absolutely. And if you start wrong, you're going to end wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how it is. Yeah. It's really not that hard to understand that. You know, and I'm sorry, but there's just been so many things that have been creeping up that have been slowly coming to my understanding where I've worked with these friends to let them know, you know, it really is a simple management issue. And so I'm hoping that this podcast isn't for nothing. I mean, I don't feel like it's for nothing. So that's why I'm spending my time. And I'm sure that you feel the same way.
If we can reach one person, I mean, somebody, it's like, you know, can hear what we've gone through, realize maybe something within themselves. That's why we keep doing this, because this journey is just so difficult, you know, without some kind of sometimes guidance. You see all these positive things out there, affirmations, whatever, but you know, you don't hear the story behind some of it. And that's why we try to share some of our own experiences and our stories. So, you know, if you're going through something or you've already gone through something, you can see that in our situations and maybe help you to see things in a different way, a more positive way, to be out of, oh, wow, you know, I can relate to that. And we try to be relatable for that same reason.
Absolutely. Like when when I'm saying manage it, it's crazy because when I got into my last argument, even with my husband, I realized that I was going to the same behaviors, in a moment. And so I think when it got to a certain point where it was just a little obnoxious, because we're just like, wow, I'm fine. Like, I'm going to leave. I was like, wait. No, you're not. Stop. That's enough. Right? Because this isn't, I need to learn from my past and I need to make it better. And that's what growth is. Yeah. I mismanaged before, but now I should be able to be smarter and wiser to be like, that's not going to happen. Stop it. I need to stop it too.
Yeah. And understand that we're just coming from a place of hurt.
Yes.
And that's it's so easy to go to the, hey, I'm out of here, or that's it, it's over, whatever. And that's all it is a place of hurt, and we don't want the hurt to be there.
Absolutely. If you find yourself to be that person, right, that is in the party, that has issues, you're thinking the negative thoughts, I really think you need to start reflecting on your behavior and change it, not for yourself, but for others, right? And you're going to see that everything actually turns out to be a little bit better. It really does. Because when I was thinking those negative thoughts, you have no clue. I mean, as funny as it is now to talk about it, now I see it's silly, but then it was really hurtful. It was really, really hurtful. It penetrated my soul so much that I can't imagine what others saw,
And I think, like we said a minute ago, it's questioning, your actions, questioning your words, questioning whatever it is, because the whole point is that, yes, you don't want to lose your identity of who you are, how you carry yourself, how you talk, or however it is. But understand that, if we're together with these, just like you're choosing to be with this friend, choosing to be with this family, you guys are choosing each other. There has to be a line, a balance where it's like, hey, I'm going to go to my friend's, kid's birthday party. I'm not just going to be talking about, let's just say, you're a single guy out there. I'm just not going to be talking about women left and right because, we're at a party. It's just not something that you do.
Yeah.
Whether that's your lifestyle, whether that's what you're into, you want to be respectful of stuff. So, you got to watch your type of, conversation because you're at a children's party.
Yes.
You're not going to go to a children's party and start downing a bottle of tequila and then a bottle of vodka and then a bottle of rum and then realize it's too late. Yes, that might have happened to me once. And the party started at 3:00 for my, friends, and by 9:00 it was lights out. So you're not going to do that. That's not something that you want to do. Basically, when I say if you're not going to do it for yourself, I guess it's not do it for others. It's consider others. Okay. Consider the environment that you're in. That that someone's allowing you to come to their home, to their party. You want to be connected with something.
Community.
Yeah. Realize that you're not just there because of anything else, but the person invited you. They have this relationship with you. So we have to be considerate of others, not to do it for others, but like I said, how we are. And we can choose to be that way. I mean, just like when I was saying earlier that, when I was with my wife and her friends and, I would talk a certain way like this, like that. But then when I was comfortable and I would be like, hey, what's up? And I would just say whatever I said because I was in a more comfortable place where I felt like no one was going to judge me. We all kind of talked that way. And unfortunately, in a way, the only uncomfortable one was my wife because she was just like, who's this guy? Just like, so.
And just to let you know, I have been through my I think this is a season right now where I'm just like I'm seeing a lot of funerals. I'm attending a lot of funerals, and it's giving me a lot of different way of thinking. One thing I'm noticing, and it's kind of it's an eye opener, not to be a little morbid or anything, but I went to one that was interesting. Well, the ones that I've been to, I'm noticing that that money is never it. We always work. We work so hard for materials, right? And then when we're here in this moment where we've seen someone at their final time, it's no longer about, hey, Jimmy was a billionaire, man. No, it's about, hey, Jimmy was always helping. He was always giving. He was like the guy to go to for grilling. And like, I saw all these people just talking amazing love and blessings and just what they brought to the community. That is such wealth in a way where it's like that's the kind of wealth I want, and that's the kind of wealth that God talks about a lot. Versus another one that I saw where they put up so many boundaries and so many walls, they died alone. And it was just four, where it's like, whoa, like it's really sad.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that are right now that, might not even be in those parties or in those families because they feel like they're the black sheep, or they feel like they're not invited, and they don't have a way to even balance because they're like, well, no one wants to accept how I am. Nobody wants to understand me. But, you have to really understand yourself. You got to start working on yourself, like we're saying, to figure out. I mean, if that's something that you want, then, if you're talking about it and you're questioning yourself about it, that means that deep inside there's something going on in there, right?
Absolutely.
'Cause if you're thinking about it, if you're not thinking about it, you're like, hey, it's me, I'm living my life. I mean, sure, but it's very rare that someone doesn't think about it. Like, I don't care. Well, if you don't care, then you wouldn't be thinking about what someone is doing without
Absolutely.
you. Why am I not invited, or why don't they tell me? That's what it comes down to. So we have to work on ourselves, and again, maybe find a person that could be that sounding board, write stuff down, and see, situational things, and really ask yourself what's going on.
Yeah. And in moments where things do hurt, don't ever make it permanent. Don't make it permanent. Walk away. And it's something I've learned. This is why I'm sharing it. It's because I mean, walk away before you can actually hurt them more and cause more division, or just like redirect it in a way where it's not going to cut ties. When you feel like you gotta throw jabs at their character rather than what really the issue is, that's when you know that you just need to walk away. You need to stop. Don't let your emotions get the best of you and throw anything more. Just stop and just take a step back, because at the end of the day you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose ties. You're gonna lose relationship, and your community is what we're all about.
Yeah, fighting with emotion is definitely not the way to any kind of fight, whether it's family, friends, spouses.
And women, we know how to do that good.
And us men do too. We just, we fake it and stuff and act like, we're tough. And
I got you. That's true too.
So, and sometimes I think we're like the little snake sometimes, because us guys, as bad as we are with emotions, we don't know when to quit sometimes. That's the kind of the problem with men. We explode because we're like that little snake. They always say, hey, don't worry about the big snakes. The big snake's gonna bite you, and then just, hey, get away from me, leave me alone. But the little snake, man, that thing's gonna till it drains all the venom in them. Is the more dangerous ones, because they're not used to using their emotions, but they just go off the rails.
Yeah.
And I can speak for myself, and that's why I had a very explosive emotional experience with myself when I would get like that, because I just didn't know when to quit. It's like I got going, and that was it for me.
Yeah. So if you're stuck, or if you're feeling any kind of way where like any of this has sparked your interest, where you want to get back into the community, where you're in a sticky situation, reach out. Not just to us, but
to someone in your community.
Somebody.
Yes, definitely, because we all need somebody.
Always. Because remember,
there's no growth
without pain. Until next time.